This September, the EWG Scarlet Knights Alumni Association invites you to join us to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the founding of Exeter West Greenwich High School. In this video series, we'll chat with longtime faculty and staff to remember some stories you know, and maybe a few you haven't heard.
One of the things I do remember, and I didn't even know I was going to be working here, but I remember when the school was being built, the December that they poured the foundation, there was this record cold streak, and they were worried about the integrity of the concrete foundation that they poured because it got so cold for so long. And then a year after the building was built, this crack appeared in my floor in my room, and I would say it's because the foundation was compromised by the cold. I remember going in for my interview and all the IBM boxes being stacked up all over the library in Metcalf. I mean, think about it, a computer for every room in this school was all sitting over there. And those were the days when the computers were like, you know, they took up a lot of space on your desk. And actually, that's still the same desk I was issued. A lot of the desks are the same. Tables are still the same. Chairs have changed. They actually hired someone else for my job. And 2 weeks before school started, he got a job on the other side of the bridge, like over in Newport or Middletown or something. So he quit his job here and went there. And so then they called me. I was actually third on the list. First they hired Sharon, then they hired this guy, and then they got around to hiring me. I had already accepted a job in Coventry. And even though Coventry was paying more money, EWG had a growing population. And a new school, and the new IBM computers. That was such a big deal. So when the building was first built, these windows opened as far out as you wanted them to open. And the first thing I thought of when I walked in is somebody's gonna fall out this window. So about a month after the school opened, they came in and put stops in all the windows so you couldn't open them. You know, anybody that wasn't around before they put them in doesn't know that they were not designed to stop so short. And then when school first opened, there were no acoustical tiles on my ceiling, and the whole room echoed because between the tile floor and so they, over Thanksgiving, that very first year, they came in and glued those panels up. And then sometime around Christmas, 2 or 3 of them were dangling because they hadn't used enough glue. So they came back and re-glued them. Prior to this, Metcalf used to do their end of the year formal, and it had turned into kind of like a mini prom. And when the building first opened, it was a big deal to try to scale that back. Graduation used to be at night too, and that also was a really big deal that we had to do a formal graduation. And it took a good 10 or 12 years before the community would allow us to not call it graduation anymore. We'd have to look, but I'd say it was probably not until 2005, 2008, before we could do the moving up ceremony during the day. But I've basically been in this room since the school opened. There is an unbelievable amount of stuff in cupboards and stuff from before the internet was such an easy thing to search. I would save articles and stuff, maps. A lot of people applied to EWG that year because, the whole thing about once you're a top step, nobody will hire you, so there's no movement. It did provide this little window for people that wanted to move, an opportunity to possibly move. So they had a lot of candidates apply here. Places that it still leaks, the same places it leaked the first year it opened, and they've tried repeatedly to fix it. Like down here in this corner, there are 4 lockers we can't use because it still leaks in that corner, and that's from day 1 when the school opened. And I still have some cinder blocks and some boards that I scavenged from a refuse pile the first year. And someone once told me that the hallways were supposed to be wider, but they were running over budget, so they cut a foot off the width of the hallways. I have to say, one thing that really was notable about our faculty was, well, a couple things, because in the early 90s, if you went to a faculty room in most other schools, everybody was smoking, and no one in the school smoked that we knew of. And to this day, our faculty is pretty positive, upbeat, keeping up with things. When you're among excellent teachers all the time, you forget what the rest of the world looks like. And I talk to teachers in other parts of the state and definitely in other parts of the country, and I'm shocked at what goes on in schools because here, excellence is still the norm. people still really work hard and still really keep current and still really care. I never thought about it, but I bet you any money it's because that's the tone that was set from the beginning by being so careful in who they hired and creating an excellent faculty. Then as people came in, that's just, they needed to assimilate to that atmosphere. I've probably spent more time in this room than any other room in my life. And I am so glad I came here. It's so nice to teach in this community. It really is.